Howdy, folks. It is Kodey Stoffer here with the Playmakers Corner podcast.
And I'm your other co-host, Simon Villanos, aka Coach V.
He wasn't ready for the quick snap on that one. But anyways, we are ready as a collective here to talk about the top 5 senior interior offensive linemen here in Colorado from the 2024 class. And so the way that we're going to do this, similar to other positions we evaluate, is we have 10 categories here, and we score them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 through 4 being basically offensive to the skill and not a complete liability or weakness, and then 5, 6, kind of average, basically. 7, 8, we're starting to see it as a skill. You know, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it still could use some improvement, or maybe just isn't super consistent. 8 to 9, you know, that's a skill that's consistent. It's performed at a solid level. It's technically very sound, and it is, you know, one of the things that defines them as a player. And anything that's 9 or above is an elite skill. This is something that stacks up very, very well with the country, honestly, and is basically a legendary attribute of this player, at least as a high school football prospect. So looking at all of that, or taking that into consideration, we score that out of 10, and we have 10 categories. Those categories for interior offensive linemen being versatility, you know, how well do we think they could play across multiple spots on the line, as well as what tasks can you ask of them in the game. Hand fighting, pretty straightforward there. Pass pro, pull blocking, combo blocking, awareness, footwork, agility, strength, and size. And then we add all of those up out of 100, and then that gives us our final score. Both Coach V and myself do these grades separately here, and then we have a PMC score, and then that is what determines our top 5 list. And then something that is new to this season is the evaluation of the top players in the country at that position. So Coach V and I took a look at some of these cats here. And, you know, I think that the one that kind of set the bar for me, as well as for you, Simon, and let me know if I'm wrong, as well as add in anything else that you think is important, was Cooper Cousins here, who is a Penn State commit. And, you know, we took a look at that film, and that set a bar for us to kind of compare to on what the best in the country looks like, and then allows us to look at what Colorado looks like in that comparison. So that's kind of the gist of all of that. Coach V, anything to add, subtract, or detract?
Yeah. No, not too much here. We also looked at I looked at Jason Zandamela. He is committed to USC as well from Florida. So got to look at Cousins, who we pretty much think is the best interior lineman in the entire country. And then Zandamela, he's still a high-rated prospect, but probably not the best. So that really helps us out here. And per usual, you know, if there's any players that play defensive tackle or on the defensive side, they'll also be considered for that as well whenever we get there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. We're recording this on the last day of 2023, December 31st. So there you go there. I think everyone here is committed, though, except for one. So that'll really, except for 2, actually. So that'll only affect those 2. But just wanted to make sure I put that out there. Kodey, if you are ready to go ahead and get started here, go ahead and talk about our number 5 guy here in the class of 2024 here in Colorado.
Yeah, so the number 5 2024 interior offensive lineman is Charlie Reed out of Douglas County High School here. And I think that the first thing that jumps off when we talk about strengths, and his highest rated category for me, was his versatility here. Look, at an 8.4, it was awesome to see him make highlight blocks from every position on the line, whether that be center, guard, and even tackle. They ask him to pull block from that spot sometimes. And yeah, I think that he does a pretty good job at all of those, all things considered. I think that he gets off the ball quick from the center spot, and he gets his hands into the right spots on shoulder pads pretty consistently. And yeah, I think that his ability to pass pro as a center guard or tackle is awesome. His pass protection is at an 8.2, which is solid enough, and I think that the big motivator for that taking a jump was seeing him do it as a tackle and doing the steps properly and getting into position and blocking well from the tackle position as well. So that is, tackle is really, really hard to pass pro in. You have a lot of these new speed rushers here, this kind of evolution of the past 10 years that has really taken off, and overload blitzes and whatnot. And I think that having somebody who can do a kick step from that tackle position and get into position is very, very important. And so kudos and points for both pass pro and versatility in that spot. So I think that in addition to that, he appeals to the second level pretty well from any spot on the field. And in pass pro, I think that he does a good job at, taking a look around and identifying who he's supposed to block and then adapting to whoever is shown by the defense. And yeah, I think that's also reflected in his awareness that I have at an 8.2 as well. So versatility, pass pro, and awareness at 8.4, 8.2, and 8.2 respectively. So I think that is, pretty solid. And then, yeah, I think that there are some things that he could improve on. But, as far as things that are versatility, pass pro, and awareness. And then some things that I have at just a flat 8 is his combo blocking. Like I said, he goes to the next level very well. His footwork, it can be a little wonky very rarely, but I think that his footwork, having the ability to translate across positions and his ability to open up is solid. And then strength-wise, I have him at an 8, and size-wise, I have him at an 8. He is quite, not weight-wise, but I'd say like weight times frame / height-wise, the smallest player on this list at 6'2", 87 is what I have listed here. Coach V, you want to talk about some of the strengths in Charlie's game that you saw, as well as maybe go into some areas of improvement?
Yeah, no, for sure. Even though he's undersized, he's only 6 foot, not 6'2", 6 foot, 287 pounds. He does a lot of things right, and so my highest grades for him, I gave him a 9 for awareness, 8.7 in pass protection and pull blocking. I think when it comes down to the skill itself, I think he does a pretty solid job, for somebody who's not like the longest or most athletic player out there. He knows what he's doing, right? And he does it at a pretty high level as a pass protector on that interior. He holds his ground really well. Rarely any, I would say, pressure against that Douglas County line, at least from his side. So absolutely love that. Stands his ground, anchors, does that extremely well. As a pull blocker, he gets there, he seals it, and whatnot, and he does a solid job there. I also gave him an 8.7 for footwork. There are times where it is a little, off, but he does have more ground to cover. So there is that as well. Now, I'll just go ahead and go into some things that he, I guess, can't really control here, but is kind of something to consider when watching him play. It's his size, right? Versatility gave him an 8. Size gave him a 7.9. He could probably play, all the interior lineman positions, guard, center, right? But he definitely can't play tackle. He's too short, and the wingspan is just not there, right? And it kind of shows even when he's pull blocking. Sometimes he doesn't exactly reach the player, and so he really has to take those extra steps and commit there, and that takes extra time, and against faster dudes that could be an issue as well. And his agility for me is only an 8.1. It is the lowest out of everyone on this list here, as he is a little bit of a heavier, stockier player compared to everyone else, and so that's a little tough for him there. And so that's definitely an issue for him. I'd like to see him lean up just a little bit here. Well, you're still getting heavier, but lean up, right? Get stronger, get a little bit more agile so you can make those blocks. Something I did notice between our grades, Kodey, is that I did have a higher pull blocking rate, and I'm just saying that because, I feel like he knows how to do it right. Like if he was taller, that like it literally would not be an issue. But I think because he is a little bit shorter here and he can't quite get out there and reach as well, it shows and it glares sometimes, in my opinion. So that's the only thing, really. I think the only thing you can do to combat that is, lean up a little bit and get faster, get quicker. I think he can get quicker. A shorter, I guess, interior offensive lineman to watch / undersized interior offensive lineman to watch, and he probably knows this, is Jason Kelce. He's somebody who's pretty small, in general, but he's fast. He's fast for someone at his size and at his position. And so watching a guy like Jason Kelce, how, he explodes off his set and, pulls around and does his whole thing, for somebody who's not as long as, the modern day offensive lineman. That's definitely somebody to watch and, study a little bit and how he does things. But, Kodey, what do you think about what I had to say there? I feel like it really attacked his frame here, but honestly, there are just things that I see and I'm like, man, you can't really do much more else here. He just doesn't have that reach. It is what it is. You work with what you got, though, and that's what he's done.
Yeah, no, it's completely true, and that's basically what my big concern was when looking at his pull blocking, because like you said, he does the right thing when he pull blocks, and he pulls good flat across the line and, uses that momentum. It's just, I'd say compared to a handful of these other guys, he's not lighting people up when he's pull blocking. Because, you give a handful of these other guys that momentum heading in that direction, and it's game over for the opposing player. And that's just not typically the case with Charlie. He gets the block off, which is fine. But I definitely have to agree. His agility was also the lowest grade out of anyone on this list for me at a 7.7. He just doesn't move great, honestly. And then while his hands do fire off quickly and they, I would say, get into, a place where you can use them, he isn't tasked with combating a lot of hand moves on his film. And I think that kind of hurts him a little bit here with his hand fighting at a 7.9. So 3 categories kind of sitting in that high 2-star range for me, knocking on that 3-star. But I think that he just has to be a little bit more fundamentally sound. And like you said, he definitely has to be a lot faster, I think, to maximize his impact on the game. But speaking of impact on the game, Coach V, where is he making an impact next season?
So, despite everything we've said, he's a good player. And I really like where he's going to go here. He's going to Southern Utah. That was, I believe, the only D1 who offered him. They offered him around mid-season. And honestly, I think it's well-deserved. I think he can play on the FCS level. He's going to have to be an interior offensive lineman. But he could still play on that level here for Southern Utah. And I think he'll probably be fine. There's plenty of undersized interior offensive linemen and center who thrive on this level, because as long as they get leverage and they work on that agility, they work out, for the most part. And so I really like this fit. He's obviously somebody who's worked hard. I've been able to watch him, not these last 2 years, but I'm pretty sure a couple years ago in the AJ Jackson era, I got to watch him when he was real young over there and raw. And, he's come a long way. He's really developed. I think the coaching staff over there has seen that development and they like what they see, And so I think they're getting kind of a steal here. He's definitely somebody who, has the skill set, but because of how undersized he is, he's typically somebody who would go overlooked, overlooked, underlooked, I guess, just not looked at in general. And I'm glad that he was able to find a home here for Southern Utah, a fine program over there where he could go contribute. Now, it's going to take some time. I think he's definitely somebody who has to redshirt, maybe even take another year to develop and whatnot, but he can be a good contributor to that squad. Kodey, what do you think about what I just had to say there?
No, I think that, he is definitely on that redshirt side of the talent pool, but like you said, we've seen guys who are on the smaller side succeed. I think that figuring out his frame is going to be objective number one, and I do think that's going to take the entire season to kind of figure out. And if he is in there, I think it's going to be due to, injuries or something like that, kind of a last case scenario. And I think that he'll still have his red shirt by the time. Hopefully, if they do need him, it would be after, the sentence served for the red shirt and whatnot. So that's kind of my outlook on Charlie Reed. Definitely a developmental kind of more raw player, but one who understands what needs to be done to win and just needs the athleticism to bridge that gap.
Yes, could not agree more. But with that being said, I don't have too much more to add. Kodey, you mind if I talk about the number 4 guy in this class here?
Sendy.
So, the number 4 interior offensive lineman in the class of 2024 in Colorado is Pine Creek's Carson Kaplan, the 6'3", 290-pound lineman. Let me go ahead and talk about some of the things that makes him great here. Gave him a 9 in awareness, 9.2 in footwork. Those were his highest grades for me in that. And, this is a kid that I've been able to watch the last 2 or 3 years, just ball out and be a mainstay for this Pine Creek offensive line, who has been really successful running the ball with multiple running backs. The JoJo Roy era, he was real instrumental in that as well. He was a running quarterback and he blocked well for him, And I've been able to see him go up against a lot of really good linebackers over the years as well. Ty Fave, the Loveland linebacker, Ian Loomis back in the day, and he's held up really well pretty much all the time, whether they blitz or whatever, and so he's definitely somebody whose game I'm familiar with. But yeah, that awareness and footwork, he's somebody who knows what's happening on the football field. He is arguably the smartest lineman, or has been one of the smartest linemen on that group or in that rotation for a while now. It kind of just seems like, I guess, all the blocking schemes go through him, even though he plays a lot of guard, but he's definitely somebody who's aware, knows his assignments, knows where his teammates are supposed to be, and he executed accordingly, as most, Pine Creek offensive linemen do, but him especially. He seems like the smartest one over there. And he doesn't make many mental mistakes, in my opinion. He doesn't make many. If there's any mistakes he does make, it's just because he does not have that ability to go make that thing happen. But he's just a very sharp player. The footwork matches that as well. Very clean in his footwork and allows him to do everything he needs to do there. I'm just going to rattle off some of the other grades here. Gave him 8.5 for versatility, 8.6 for hand fighting, 8.5 for pass protection, 8.7 for combo blocking. I think he does a good job usually getting to that next level, and that opens up and springs open a lot of plays that go from, that 5 to 8 yard range to 10 plus yard plays, which you absolutely love to see here in his game. And then I'm just going to mention this real quick before throwing it to you, Kodey. His lowest grades for me, 8.2 as a pole blocker, 8.3 for strength, 8.4 for size. He's just not quite the strongest guy out there. 290, it's not bad, but the strength is just not quite matching up. So I definitely like to see him get stronger, because I think that'll allow him to, be a better combo blocker, get to the next level and whatnot. And then as a pole blocker, just finish blocks and then continue to move on from there. Because as a pole blocker, he doesn't exactly blow people off their line, which is a little concerning, but, it is what it is there. Then as a pass blocker, there are times where he gets pushed, just a little bit there. Doesn't exactly absorb, as well as I probably would have liked. But I think as he continues to develop and get stronger, that'll be solved. So there you go there. That's kind of my whole eval for Carson Kaplan. He rated out at an 86 overall grade for me. Kodey, what was your evaluation of Carson Kaplan, and what do you think of mine?
Yeah, so typical. Some things I agree with, some things that I just saw a little bit differently. And I think that I'm just going to start with areas of improvement first, honestly. And I do got to agree that pole blocking was severely lacking, and I don't know if he has the mobility to even do so, honestly. He doesn't move great in my opinion, his agility is rated the second lowest on this list, so climbing up a little bit as we go. And also, his versatility kind of took a hit. I just think that his lack of mobility and his pole blocking definitely, I don't know, I think that they kind of go hand in hand, same with his versatility. I think that his lack of movement just hurts him really, really bad as a player. So, and then climbing my way up this list here, like I mentioned, his agility is at a 7.9. It's just the top end speed isn't super great, and he's not rarely, if ever, used on poles or out in space, which, also dinks that a little bit as well. I also just want to say that for awareness, I have it graded at a 7.9. I just don't think that he picks up, I think that he only picks up like the very obvious blocks, and I don't really see him IDing as much. And so that's something that I would hopefully want to see from, and at least like, I think that the best centers that we've seen, I feel like we see it even reflected in their film, just like pointing things out before snap and, adjusting things. And I feel like some of his guys don't necessarily see the benefit from that. I also think that there's a few times where he blocks someone into the direction of the run, and that hurts his awareness as well. I saw that happen more than once on his film. And I think that there's just some, I just feel like his instincts weren't quite there for me, honestly. And then hand fighting wise, I think that sometimes he just doesn't get his hands in the best spot. But, and while he shoots them out fast, I definitely notice him holding more than any other prospect that I watched during this list, which I don't think is a good thing. So those were some of the things that kind of deterred me from Carson Kaplan a little bit, but things that were good. I thought that his pass pro was fine. I have it graded at an 8.1. I think that he's winning the matchups that he's supposed to do, and that is important, obviously, not letting the easy one slip by. Footwork wise, I have it graded at an 8.2. I think that it is one of his stronger traits. Honestly, I think that his base is pretty solid, and when he is driving his blocks, he does a great job of that. But I think that his agility kind of holds his footwork back from being great, as far as not opening up and hitting that top speed and stuff like that, and just changing direction. I think that has more to do with his agility than his footwork. I think that his footwork is fine, but it just kind of stops there. And then combo blocking, I actually have graded at an 8.3. While he doesn't always peel off at the perfect time, he does peel off, which is very, very important to me when watching combo blocking. If you are not getting to a second guy in combos, something is wrong. You know what I mean? And so I think that along with the nastiness that he plays with, that definitely still exists, and being able to finish those blocks. Because, look, if you're not going to peel off your combo, you better finish obliterating it. And he does do that as well. And that brings me kind of to his strength here. That is his highest grade at an 8.5 here. I think that he does a great job of, playing aggressive and bullying people across the field when given the chance. And, especially when he just locks, obviously part of the game is, not to hold, but to get away with stretching the rules just a little bit. And so, I think that is reflected when he gets that iron grip going. There's just no getting off, and there's no removing yourself from that situation. So, but I still think that it's just it's good. It's fine. He gets a push, but it's nothing to really write home about. And so with that and size at an 8.5, that puts him at an 80.7 for me. And Coach V, your final score at an 86. What do you think of our cumulative grade of him here at an 83.35? What do you think of my assessment? And what do you think of the next move here for Carson?
No, I definitely see some of those things. I graded differently, obviously, because I got to see him play a lot more here. As far as awareness goes, I don't know. Like, I don't really take how his other teammates play in consideration when doing that. Like, because in my opinion, like, I'm out there and I hear him making these calls, and I'm pretty sure that his teammates are just not making the blocks. Like, they're just not executing. And so that is more of a personal problem for them. For him, he's not going to miss it. Like, I don't think he's going to miss many things over there. But, I mean, you know, there are just times where I feel like the play is probably not going how it should. And so I agree, there are times where he does block his guy into the runner, but I also think there are times where the runner is not making the right decision over there, or there's another blocker who should be there and it's just not getting sealed off correctly. And so there, you know, that's probably, how should I say? That's probably one of my biggest criticisms, actually, of Pine Creek altogether. Their offensive line coaching could definitely use some work over there. And it was apparent when Ralston Valley, who has nobody on our top 5 senior list from that front 7 at least yet, Tyrese Johnson might make it, but other than that, nobody else is going to make it. That's a defensive line who's significantly less talented, but routed up the Pine Creek offensive line because of their overall lack of awareness. Now, Carson Kaplan did fine because he knows what's going on. And, you know, that might be a really difficult and harsh evaluation, but from what I see, I think he's fine. But, you know, you can't help out a teammate who just doesn't know what they're doing. Like, who just doesn't do their job right, you know. You can't block for them, and there's 4 other guys on the line. I'm not trying to throw shots out there. I'm just saying I don't know where their IQ I know where their IQ compares, is all I'm going to say there. Actually, I know where their IQ compares to Carson, and that's all I'm going to say there, and just leave it there. There's a reason his other teammates did not make this list, and we're not really close, in my opinion. So that's all I got to say there. You know, but other than that, I mean, you know, he's a good player. I still think, and I think it's still reflected in our grades still, that he's D1. You know, he's somebody who probably, I think in my opinion, could play more so on the FCS level. He is a little bit smaller at 6'3", 290, and the strength reflects in some ways. So, I mean, I never really thought he was a Power 5 or Group of 5 guy, but I always thought he could maybe play on the FCS level. Now, he will be playing for Cornell, you know, and so he'll play on that level there. I'm not super familiar. They're not D2. I'm pretty sure they're technically FCS, but they just can't participate in the FCS playoffs. Is that right, Kodey? I thought there was something about Dartmouth and that group altogether.
I'm gonna go to good old Google. What do you know? They are FCS.
Yes,
Ivy League time,
but they can't play in the
Certified
FCS
Ivy
playoffs. Is the weird, just like HBCUs.
No, they play in. I'm pretty sure that they play in bowl games, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but
wait, bowl games?
I feel like they have.
They do have their own playoffs for Ivy Leagues or something like that. So that might be it as well. Where they play like
that's probably what I'm
Dartmouths. Yeah. So technically it still holds up correctly here. He did commit pretty early, so there is that. But, you know, going to Cornell, I mean, he's a smart guy. He has over a 4.0 GPA, I'm pretty sure. So he's going to get a good education over there. He's going to go play good football. I mean, obviously, he's going to go through the whole redshirt thing and then learning the offense. I don't know how complicated their offense over at Cornell is over there. I'm sure it can get really complicated. I'm not going to lie, with so many high IQ guys over there. But we'll just have to see what happens. I think as far as physical ability, he can definitely play on this level, and this is kind of where I have him slotted in. Is that fair to say, Kodey? And, you know, what do you think about his future over there at Cornell?
I mean, you know me and you know us. We're the Ivy League experts here. And I say this, we had to look something up. And, I mean, look, obviously education very important to him. 4.3 GPA. right up that alley here. I'm assuming his test scores are absolutely crazy, and I think that this is the level of football that he can compete on and contribute on a consistent level here. I do think that he could still benefit from playing later rather than sooner, as I do also still kind of view him on a bit more of the raw side. But I think that all things considered, he has a nastiness to him that I don't know if you're going to get that from a lot of Cornell commits and recruits. And, that definitely comes from that Dungeon family kind of vibe that he rocks with. And, he definitely embraces that. And, you can kind of see it through his personality and whatnot. So, and his post where he's, looking for work. That's his tagline. Always looking for work. And that means that he wants to bury somebody into the dirt. So I think that that's going to be important to have for Cornell's line. And I think that Carson is going to do fine there.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed. And looking forward to rooting for him over there. It was really fun being able to watch him these last couple of years. Like I said, being a mainstay for Pine Creek, and that offensive line's going to miss him. That Pine Creek program's going to miss him is all I'm going to say there, as he did make a couple careers over there. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the number 3 interior offensive lineman in the class of 2024. And that's Cherry Creek's Evan Godden here, the 6'5", 280-pound guard. First-year starter. He only played as a senior. Cherry Creek goes over there. They have like a million offensive linemen. So many guys who rotate in and out over there. But, Evan, he really emerged this season and has a really good tape. So let me go ahead and go into the evaluation here. Gave him a 9 for versatility. I mean, at 6'5", 280, I really feel like he could also play tackle if he wanted to. And if it wasn't for, 2 other D1 Power 5 tackles already playing tackle, I think he could do it. So there's that, the versatility. I think that's going to go a long way for him over there. Moving on here, gave him an 8.9 for hand fighting. I think he has done a really good job hand fighting in the trenches, whether it's as a pass blocker or as a run blocker. He does a good job. I only got to watch him, I realize, play Ralston Valley first in the first game of their season, technically, for them. And then I got to watch him play against Ralston Valley again in the playoffs, which was an absolute battle. That second game being a much more intense battle. And there's some tough hand fighting and battling going on in the trenches over there. And he held his own against Tyrese Johnson, a very good, a D1, defensive lineman over there who's going to Air Force. And so loved what I saw from him there. Then I'm going to go to agility here, where I gave him an 8.8. He moves really well for 6'5", 280. Watching him pole block and get to the next level. I mean, he could run. He could definitely run a little bit. And so absolutely love to see that. Real quick, we'll go over the other grades real quick here. Gave him an 8.7 in pass protection, pole blocking, footwork, size. I realize that's like 4 different grades, but I really feel like he is just above a 3-star or 4-star in all of those things. Pretty polished, just looking through the film and just critiquing and trying to really nail something down here. I think he's about at that level of a 3-star and 4-star comparatively, so loved seeing that. And then his lowest grades, I gave him an 8.5 for combo blocking, 8.4 for awareness. There are definitely times in his film, and from watching both games, one at the very beginning of the season and one at the, closer to the end of the season, where he looks a little confused out there, and, he is a first-year starter for Cherry Creek, and they run a lot of different things over there, so it is a lot to absorb. Now, there are just times where he looks a little bit more turned around. In that first game specifically, there are some things that I saw that I was like, man, he's just not quite getting to that next level, or he's blocking the wrong guy, or he's taking too long to block a guy where he could really throw this dude and then go help somebody else who really needs it, especially when they lost A.J. Burden early on in that Ralston Valley game. That was something I kind of noticed, from him. He was definitely one of the more inexperienced guys, along with his center Ned Zelinskis over there, who was also just as inexperienced as him. So that was really not helping out either of them over there. Just having two guys who are not super experienced, maybe not seeing the most out there. And so that definitely affected his grade there. Still, though, for the most part, considering he's somebody who's kind of just getting out there his first year and just blocking dudes, awareness is pretty solid. He's not an idiot. So there you go there. Now, combo blocking, I think there are times where the timing is just off. Still, I mean, if you just ask him to, like, hey, go block this zone or go out there and do this or that, you have to be very specific. But he'll go out there and he'll do it, but it lacks, I guess, the natural instincts of, like, all right, I finished this guy, now I'm going to smoothly move over and get this next guy. It's just not quite there. It's just not quite there. But altogether, though, gave him an overall grade of an 87 overall. Now, because he is a first-year starter, I think he's more of a 3-star than 4-star, because there is a good chance that, maybe he was a one-hit wonder, and then next year he's just not playing at the, I guess the level that he was, even though he'll have to play on a college program next year if he continues to play. But Kodey, what do you think about all I had to say there? I know it's a lot, and there's a lot to interpret here for him being really the only one that we evaluated being a one-year starter. But what do you think, Kodey?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of room for interpretation when it comes to Evan here. But I do think that something is quite evident here, as we have the exact same score on it, is his pull blocking. He gets out of his stance quickly, and he explodes on pull blocks and creates solid lanes. He can drive and finish defenders, which is always good to have. So, his strength is sitting at an 8.6, one of his higher grades as well. But I will say that something that we definitely just evaluated a little differently, and I think pretty consistently evaluated a little differently, was awareness. I think that his instincts were awesome. And, I think that, even if he maybe wasn't aware of the play, I think that who he was picking up next was correct super consistently. And I think that, fundamentally he's not super raw, and he does a great job of IDing blocks, knowing his doubles, knowing when to peel, knowing where to peel, when to finish, when to drop them off at the store. And I think is just overall pretty fantastic in a wide amount of ways here. And I think that part of that was just being ready for when his number got called and getting in there and making an impact. I think that other things that he does well, he's solid in pass pro. I have that graded at an 8.6. I think that his hand fighting is pretty good as well. I have that graded at an 8.4. He does a great job of knowing when to just drop them down. If somebody comes at him with a bull rush, he'll just sit you right down in front of him. But he also does a good job of shifting you depending on what direction you're coming in. And in pass pro, I think that he does a good job at, keeping his feet chopping and whatnot to help him slam defenders. So I think that those things go well. His combo blocking is at an 8.5. I think that he does a pretty good job of knowing when to peel. I think there are just a couple of instances where I wish he would have peeled instead of finishing the block he was on. So that's why it's not higher. I think that his agility is pretty good. I think that a huge benefit for him here is, he's not that much smaller than most, but he is the smallest guy on this list. And so I think that when you are the smallest guy, you probably should have the best agility on this list, which he does for me at an 8.4 out of everyone in the top 5, that is. So those are some of those scores. And then as far as improvement, he is the smallest guy, so his size is a bit on, the smaller graded side. But I am not concerned about it the same way I am about maybe some other guys on the list. So not too worried about that there. He'll get bigger, and he's already got the height. So, like I said, non-issue for me, honestly. Footwork-wise, I think that his footwork is just a hair inconsistent sometimes, with his base kind of being absurdly wide sometimes. And I think that he loses some leverage when he lets his base kind of slip outside of his frame a little bit. So I have that graded at an 8.3. It still works very, very well for when he's pull blocking or pass proing. His feet are constantly moving, and he does a great job of shifting them in different directions as well. And then versatility-wise, I have him graded at an 8, which is still, fine. I think that the skills that he shows, like Coach V said, could be shown at tackle, but we just didn't see it, so I didn't want to give him too much of a higher score here. But he is used, in a variety of ways on the offense. Maybe just some things that I would have liked to see is maybe see him on some more screens or something like that. Just see his agility put to the maximum use and see him in the open field doing the most damage there. So when you add all of those up, that is an 84.7. Coach V, like you said, at an 87, that puts us at a cumulative 85.85. And, it's wild. I definitely think that only playing 1 year kind of hurt him here because his recruiting is not where it should be, in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of crack open this can a little bit here. Look, his interest at this point from Sioux Falls, Western Colorado, Nebraska Kearney, Adams State, Black Hill State, and Northern State, there's something that you can hear that's similar across all of those teams or programs, and that's that they're all D2. And Evan is definitely, I'd say definitively, a D1 player. I think that for sure an FCS level guy, somebody who I even think that, obviously would benefit from a red shirt and talking more X's and O's and whatnot, just to be a bit more, ready for college ball. I think that it would benefit him the most there. But I do think that he has even a little bit more upside on that. But, I don't see a lot of teams, especially in this day and age with the transfer portal, looking for that risk. And so, unfortunately, he really might just have to grit his teeth and go to a situation that's a little less than ideal and impress on that level and then transfer the next year. Some of these could be good options as well, but I also think that the JUCO route is definitely something that Evan could look into here. And he's a player that I would definitely recommend to some of the JUCOs that reach out to us and be like, yeah, this is a guy that could come in and on the JUCO level contribute for you sooner, much sooner than later, and make an impact. Coach V, unless you know something that I don't about his recruiting in regards to anybody that is picking up the phone at this time, is there any kind of lens that you see him approaching this differently? I guess I should say, first off, do you agree that his end route or destination should be on a D1 program? And then if so, do you see the map that I have laid out for him kind of being something that he can utilize or maybe should or will utilize?
Yeah, well, bottom line, I do think he's a D1 talent. I hesitate to say if he's Power 5 or Group of 5 because I've only seen him play like one season, right? So there could be, like I said, he could just not be as good next time he plays, and it'll probably be clear of what level he'll play on. But I do know that he's probably a D1 guy. The versatility alone, being 6'5", 280, and having a good skill set here should bring him a long way. And yeah, he should probably go to a JUCO or D2 or wherever and then transfer from there. If he goes to a JUCO, first off, it will be cheaper. So there's that as well. And I also think that there's a higher chance that he'll pretty much start right away. Because you did say this in your evaluation, which I agree with. He has good instincts, and I agree that he has good instincts. I just gave him lower awareness because when it came to just knowing the scheme and whatnot, it just naturally, he just wasn't there, and he looked confused at times. And so he's going to need to be coached up and, really hit that film room to bring that up there. But as far as instincts go, you throw him out there, he's going to make the right plays at least 70% of the time, and that's a passing grade in my opinion. So you can live with that. Also, he's 6'5", 280. How many other guys are going to be that big, just coming straight out of high school? He's definitely somebody you could develop into a monster for your program. And so if he goes JUCO, plays well there, I think he could get some D1s. And, just with the way the transfer portal is going, most colleges will opt for linemen who are experienced, right? Who has playing experience, not just I was at Tennessee or I was at Texas, but I didn't get to play. No, they want players who have played, right? Who have seen different things and who are a little bit older and whatnot in that sense. And so I would really like for him to go to a spot where he could play pretty much right away, because when he decides to transfer, or if he decides to transfer, then I think there's a higher chance for him to get picked up because they look at it and they're like, oh, he's a 2-year starter at a JUCO, or hey, he got, some really good playing time his freshman year as a rotational guy and then started for a full year. There's a lot of good experience there. That matters, right? Especially for a lineman here. And so I agree with your route here. That's probably where he's going to have to go, just because I think there are a lot of D1s who are not sure exactly where he's at. They know kind of where his skill set lies, but when it comes down to it, consistency does matter and having film does matter. So we'll just have to see with Evan here, but I do think he is a D1 guy when all is said and done. It just comes down to what path he takes, which, is specific to everyone and it is different for everyone. Isn't that right, Kodey?
We're all unique, like a bunch of snowflakes. But all yes, right. No, I think that his come up to the next level is going to be unorthodox compared to a handful of, obviously, these other guys. But, I mean, the talent is there. That's unquestionable. The film doesn't lie. And I think all he needs is more of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Which is not the worst problem to have. So there you go there. But let's keep this thing moving here. We're not going far. We're going to go talk about the number 2 class of 2024 interior offensive lineman here. And that is his fellow teammate, Cherry Creek's Hayden Treater here. Treater, right? Am I saying that right?
Correct. We found that out. Gideon and I found that out at Media Day as well. Because he went up and we jokingly were like, I was like, yeah, this guy really said Treater. And he's like, that's how it's pronounced. And I was like, oh, oops.
Nice.
So I don't know if you knew that, Simon, but there you go. I just straight up said that his name wasn't said the right way.
Yeah, no, and I will apologize. I mean, I never said it wrong out loud, or at least I don't think I did. But
oh my, bruh, but don't throw me under the bus
here,
like that.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Hayden, we're cool.
Yeah. So our number 2 guy, Hayden Treater, out of Cherry Creek, the 6'6", 300-pound guard for them. I feel like he also played tackle back in the day as well. I could just be tripping, but I feel like when I look back at his to review his huddle the last 2 years, he played guard, but I'm almost positive he played tackle at one point. I don't know, maybe I'm just tripping. But let me go ahead and talk about what makes him great here. I gave him a 9.2 in both strength and size. Also, I'm just going to say, rattle this off. Gave him a 9 in versatility, pass protection, awareness, footwork. This is a strong dude. This is a strong guy. When it comes to power and comparing his power to the power of other linemen, not only in Colorado in this class, but around the country, it's up there. There's not going to be many guys who are just going to be able to out-muscle him in these trenches here. And, it's very, very apparent when he's pass blocking. He is actually our second highest pass blocker, my second highest pass blocker here with that 9 here. He stonewalls so many players. There haven't been many great interior defensive linemen, in my opinion, in Colorado. But, there's been plenty of big boys out there who are big and, still physically imposing. And he does a good job just people moving, getting them out the way, not allowing any pressure up the middle. I feel like for Cherry Creek, it's been a really long time. I don't think actually if I've ever seen them get a lot of pressure up the middle when in pass pro. And that's in part thanks to Hayden here. He does a very good job there. He's very skilled. The awareness is there. He knows when to pick up blocks. He knows when blitzes are coming. He'll pick up multiple blocks sometimes when in pass pro, and he just does a good job there. Like I said, too strong to get overpowered. That's his game. He's kind of a mauler over there in some ways as well. When he's run blocking as well, he's a little bit of a mauler. So absolutely love what I saw there. Going over some of the other grades, because I might as well. 8.6 for hand fighting, 8.5 for agility. His lowest grades was his actually his run blocking grades, 8.4 in pole blocking and 8.2 for combo blocking. I don't know what it is specifically, because the strength as a pass blocker is definitely there. But when he's out run blocking, maybe it's because he's not as agile, so he's not able to gain as much speed here. But he's just not able to like go smack a dude and then work his way to the next level as smoothly as I feel like he can. Like, I know he knows that, all right, like, I could get this guy and then go over here to seal and, you know, get this next block here. But he's just not quite able to get there. And I think that's probably more of a speed thing than anything. Just like, you know, finishing off a block and then quickly getting to the next, you know, defender over there. I'm pretty sure that's more of a speed thing than anything. Still, though, I mean, like, 3-star, like, he's still he still does a good job at run blocking and whatnot. Just maybe not as dominant there. I see him pretty much more so as a pass blocker, as an interior offensive lineman than a run blocker, which is not a bad thing because obviously it's a passing game nowadays. That's the modern day that's modern day football. You know, you got to be able to pass block, and he does it with the best of them out there. You know, you put him up against some of the best pass rushers in the country as far as interior offensive lineman goes, and he's going to hold his own. You know, I've already begun to evaluate some of those big-time interior defensive linemen, and I am pretty sure that he could neutralize them just as easily as those guys cause havoc for a lot of other linemen. I'm pretty positive of that. And then, you know, with the place he's going up to next. Well, actually, I don't want to get too far ahead. Kodey, what do you think about Hayden here and his game? And what do you think about my evaluation?
Spoiler! Nah, just kidding. We'll obviously get to that. But, you know, Hayden, God, I had a lot of fun watching his film. I really did. And, you know, I think that his kind of, like, speed issues, if you would, were reflected mostly in my agility category. I think that that's where we saw it most. And yeah, honestly, other than not having a ton of tackle film, this guy does not really have a lot of weaknesses. I mean, there's always room for improvement. His pull blocking, to be fair, is my third lowest rated category, just because I think it does have something to do with his movement a little bit here. But, you know, I think that as far as things that he does very well, I think that his strength is very evident. And I also think that he's a really good hand fighter. I think that he showed really good hand fighting chops against Valor at the state championship his junior year. And then as far as strength goes, I think that, you know, it kind of pops in his combo blocking film where he is usually the hammer to the nail here, and he's setting up his teammates to peel. You know what I mean? I think that that means a lot because combo blocking is not only being able to peel yourself, but it's setting it up where if your teammate in that scheme is poised to go to the next level, you can do that. And with his strength, that makes it so much easier as well. I think that, you know, as far as combo blocking, I can see your angle though a little bit that he could peel sooner when he is that next level guy, which is why it's not perfect, but there are plenty of instances when he does, and when he does do it, he does it so well. I'd also like to say that his base is pretty consistently strong. I have his footwork at an 8.7, and it doesn't really lean too much one way or the other or give anything away. And like I said, his agility is at an 8. I still think that he moves well, but I think that it does come down to speed ultimately, where he's not getting across super fast on pulls, and I don't really see his hips shift multiple directions super smooth when in pass pro. And yeah, that kind of like dinged more so his agility than anything else. But fundamentally speaking, his pass pro is what I have graded as the second highest in this class at an 8.9. I should also mention that his strength and size are the highest grades in this class, and his combo blocking, despite not always making the right play, just by making the correct move the majority of the time and the violence of which he commits combo blocking homicide is what lands him at such a high grade there. I think that, you know, and I think that's something that helped his pass pro quite a bit. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but this is inside the mind of the evaluator here. That's why we take these notes. That's why we do these numbers. And so I'm just like, literally as I'm watching the film, I'm basically just doing word vomit notes as I'm watching it here. And So that brings me back to his pass protection, where he matched up against a lot of other guys and even guys who are going D1. And I think that, he had active feet and a powerful punch as well in that pass pro, and picking up delayed blitzes. I really liked what I saw. And that was also reflected in his awareness that I have at an 8.6 as well. And, he's a very well-rounded player. And I think that's something that helped his awareness as well, was this season, last season they were definitely a little bit less running. They were calling less run plays with the quarterback. But the quarterback that they had, he likes to break the pocket. He likes to throw on the run. They have a lot of boot movement, and he will extend plays as well. And I think that he did a great job of adapting to that and showing a sixth sense as well with that. And his agility went up just a notch for me, considering that as well. I think that's something that also hurts his agility on top of his speed being low, is that he's a little top heavy sometimes. And I think that more control and more mobility would open that up. But, I'd say that I trust him across the line in the run game pretty confidently. And his hand fighting was very, very fun to watch. So take all of those into consideration, and you got an 87.1. So we are just a little bit different there, but this is why we do our average scores here, which landed him at an 87.6, which still makes him one of the highest evaluated players in the history of the pod, which I'm sure are basically all linemen, because that's just how we do it here in the Box State. But Simon, since you were so eager to talk about his future, why don't you let us know what's next for Hayden Treater?
Yeah, so he committed to USC pretty early over a number of other D1s, including CU, for good reason there. And so I think he's going to go to USC, and he's going to be a good fit. Look, they're going to pass the ball. They're going to have some spread looks over there because, it's Lincoln Riley and whatnot. Kodey, you're familiar with that. And, with the... this is probably worth bringing up. I think this is worth bringing up because I'm not quite sure here. But, with the USC quarterback situation kind of up in the air, whoever's back there is going to need help, from the line and whatnot. And so I think he fits in there perfectly. When you run a spread concept or some sort of spread, offense, you're going to need linemen who could hold their own because you won't have much help from tight ends, running backs, whatever, right? And so he is definitely somebody who could hold his own over there. And so looking forward to him going over there and competing, and being part of a prolific offense, plain and simple. And I think he's going to fit in really well, set a good tone for a lot of guys, for that offense over there and for a lot of guys over there. And, I'm excited for him. It's always exciting, when a player goes to a program that, has a huge spotlight on them and is highly touted, and whatnot. And we already know whoever's back there for quarterback for Lincoln Riley is going to do well, but they can't do it without an offensive line. And, Hayden, he's going to be a big part of that. Now, I don't know what's going to go down exactly per se, because I know they're going to be active in the transfer portal, and there's guys who've been waiting, and there's other guys that they've recruited. I mean, one of these guys that we evaluated, who was a 5-star guy, Jason Sandamella, he is also a guard who'll be going there, but he is significantly smaller than Hayden, who, admittedly, I rated Hayden over him, even though Jason's a 5-star, but, that's just me, and that could also be my personal bias. But you got guys like him coming in, right? You got transfer portal guys coming in. For Hayden, you just got to go out there and compete. We said this when we were talking about Gage Ginther, who's going to Tennessee in our offensive tackle episode. There's going to be guys brought in, but all you could do is go ahead and compete, and if it doesn't work out there, then it's going to work out somewhere else, because regardless, he's a Power 5 offensive lineman, plain and simple there. Kodey, what do you think about what I got to say there? I know there's, some soreness with you being an Oklahoma Sooner fan and Lincoln Riley, but, we had to talk about it.
You really just have to keep pouring the salsa in the wound, man. Gosh, it's been a rough couple of years. But anyways, bro. Anyways, messing up my whole mojo here. Hayden, No, I actually think that it's going to be a great fit. I think that it's going to only give him more opportunities to show, what he can do as a pass blocker and also grow him, which I think is important if we're looking at the biggest picture possible for Hayden, because I do think that he does have that NFL upside. I think that people already kind of know what Creek linemen are about on a national scale, and his strength being where it is already is wild. And I think that fundamentally he just does so many things so well. And honestly, I think that he's still agile enough to play in that spread, and I would not be super worried about it as well. And he is somebody who I can trust to kick out at tackle, and having versatile guys as well is even more so important, I think, with the transfer portal, because one year you could have 5 tackles and the next you could literally have 0 on the roster. So I think that that is always something to consider in this wild cycle here. And Hayden, I would not be surprised really if he got on the field sooner than later and made an impact sooner than later as well. I have a lot of faith in him. So
I do as well. Either way, he's going to be forced to compete. And sometimes, it takes that pressure and having your back against the wall to get out there and get the most out of you. And so I'm really excited just to see what happens here. And for it, just always be ready, right? We were looking at these bowl games that have happened when this episode comes out, it'll be a couple of weeks ago. Do you know how many freshmen start in those games? Out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, but pretty much out of nowhere because of transfer portal or NFL draft stuff as well, just sitting out. His chance to start could come at any time. And you could even look at former teammate, fellow Cherry Creek offensive lineman Hank Zelinskis for CU this last year. His first start was against CSU, which was arguably the most televised regular season college football game of this last 2023 season, out of all D1s. And, he got there and he did his thing. And so you just got to always be ready to go compete, make a better name for yourself out there. And, for Hayden, I know he's somebody who's going to compete. He's been a mainstay. He has that championship DNA. I think he's going to be fine, and we're just going to have to see what happens here. But regardless, I think his future is bright, and he has a future here in college football and potentially the next level. But, first things first, we got college. So there you go there. But I don't have too much more to add here, Kodey. Unless you have something more to add there, do you want to go ahead and talk about some of our honorable mentions?
Yeah, so our honorable mention list, pretty short, honestly. There are some guys that we did consider as well. Shout out to Odin, basically TikTok famous. So shout out to him there. And then, Ryder Smith, he's PMC fam for sure, and he's somebody that we've kind of watched throughout the years and whatnot, so definitely had a look on some of those guys. Alec Martis, Caden Major, Owen Taylor. But I think some of the guys that were a little bit closer, shout out to the legend guys here, Logan White and Cruz Garcia, who Logan, did score a cumulative score of over 80, and then the big omission on this list, at least for my average here, was Preston Johnson out of Fountain Fort Carson, but Simon balanced it out by seeing a lot of these SoCo boys live as well. So those are our honorable mentions. And without further ado, let's talk about maybe the unexpected, but maybe the expected number 1 interior offensive lineman from Colorado in the class of 2024, who is Cale Weatherby here out of Eagle Crest, Colorado. And, the Raptors, this team, this engine that is their offense, does not run without Cale. I think that when looking at him, there are just a lot of things to look at. He combats pass rushers and run defenders very well. He's got great strength. I have his strength graded at a 9. And it also seems that he can't not block the right guy. Let me say that one more time. He can't not block the right guy, as in he just has an internal magnet to who he's supposed to block, and that's whether the play is improv'd or not. His awareness for me, I have graded at a 9. I think that he just has the sixth sense of all time here, and he shows it whether he's at guard or at the center position here. And I think that from the center position, it's also very eye-opening that he is able to move around the field and pull. His pull blocking, primarily as a center, but also utilized as a guard, is at an 8.8. He even pulls from the tackle position sometimes, depending on what sets they're looking at between his junior and senior year. And for that reason, I also have his footwork graded at a 9.3. It is, between his awareness and footwork, those are above and beyond the highest grades in those categories out of the top 5 guys. And it's just because he's able to do stuff perfectly. I mean, he uses it so well to let defenders take themselves out of the play and play at his pad level with his leverage is elite. And I think that his footwork has a lot to do with that. Just the way that he can chop and quickly pull his feet and his weight out from a defender and let them just take themselves out of the play. Now, obviously, he played a ton of center his senior year, but he showed he can pass or run block at the guard position and run block at the tackle position, like I mentioned, with the footwork that just carries across. He constantly keeps his feet moving while finishing blocks perfectly and consistently. And so those are very high. His pull blocking 8.8, combo blocking 8.7. Like I said, he just has that sixth sense of knowing who to block on that next level here. So those all go swimmingly. And it's like even the things that aren't graded super well, I mean, his versatility at an 8.6 is still the highest grade out of anyone here, just because I think that he showed it best between those interior offensive lineman positions to play all of them very well. And the way that he was pulled for screens and whatnot, I think shows that versatility. The way that he was pass pro, the way that you could scheme him for literally anything was fantastic for Cale's economy here in that versatility category. And then hand fighting, I have it an 8.6. And his hands are in the right place a lot of the time, but they're also not in the perfect place all of the time. At the same time, he doesn't allow defenders to get their hands on him, and he has a very powerful punch as well. There's one time where this D tackle tries to get up to swat a pass, and Kale, I mean, it's an art. He just dude, I think he gets him right in the sternum, honestly, right in that gap in where the chest pads would be, and that D lineman comes down very quickly and is no longer trying to bat the pass. And it's, awareness for sure in that. It's pass pro for sure on that. And it's partially hands, just being able to get that strong punch in there as well. So those are all strong. I think that he does, slap around pretty well. The only reason that his hand placement kind of took a little bit of a ding is, it's fine. I get it's nitpicky is what it is. And that's what, that's why we watch the film. But when he folds his arm together and just decks somebody, I mean, the fact that it's in his film a few times, I just that's not going to be the most applicable thing. I'd rather you have your hands out and your elbows locked and ready to go, or have that more strong usage of the hands for that punch to flatten somebody. He has the strength to do it. He does it in other instances. And so that's something that I would just like to see, as far as the folding goes, decrease, and as far as the locked arm plastering of players, increase. And then his lowest thing is agility. I think that he's not the fastest guy in the field, and he probably never will be, but his knowledge and footwork allow him to compensate for that. And even then, his agility is the second highest rated on this list, only behind Evan. So add all of that together, and he was my highest graded interior offensive lineman, that is, at an 88.3. I was very, very impressed, and I think that when I look at all of these guys and I think of who is the closest to Cooper Cousins, I think that watching Cooper Cousins' film definitely influenced how I watched Cale's film and what his final standing was. Coach V, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this about Cale. He's the only one who played center on this list. So obviously some could say it's an unfair advantage. I mean, it definitely is playing center here when it comes to these evaluations, but I just feel like centers have to do a lot more than, just your typical guards. And so there's a lot of things that he's going to be rated higher in, and it's obvious that he's going to be closer to a fellow center in Cooper Cousins as well, obviously, who, just throwing this out there, Cooper Cousins played center and Jason Zandamela did not. So there's that as well. Which, it could be a grading thing, but it is what it is. Look, when it comes to Cale Weatherby, I love his spatial awareness, his general awareness, his football IQ. I gave him a 9.2 in awareness. That's the highest out of anybody on this list. He knows what he's doing, right? And he's extremely smart. He gets out there and he looks for blocks, and it's always the right block, right? Combo blocking, I gave him a 9.1. He does a great job moving to the next level smoothly with the play and just opening up that running game over there for Eagle Crest, and he just does such an excellent job for them. Out of Pass Pro, gave him a 9.2. I really like his agility and strength personally. I think, Kodey, you and I just basically traded our grades with the footwork. His footwork's a little bit lower at 8.5. Your footwork's higher, but my agility is a little bit higher, so it's just traded there, so there's that. But that's fine. I look at his agility. He gets to the next level pretty quickly and efficiently as well. So absolutely love that. And then from a pass pro standpoint, I think he moves around pretty well. He's also 6'4", 297, so he's a little bit longer there as an offensive lineman, and so that allows him to cover more room. But as a pass protector, there's no interior pressure coming from the defense over there whenever Eagle Crest plays and when they pass it. And, this was a year where, they were able to pass for a lot of yards, and Joe Steiner had a pretty clean pocket and was able to step up towards Cale's side, and, go deliver a pass. And so I absolutely love to see, that work out for them. I'm just going to go down the line with my other grades. I said 9 for strength, 8.7 for size. His lowest grades, 8.5 for footwork. We already talked about that. 8.6 for pole blocking. I feel like he didn't have to do as much of that as some other guys, but still did a solid job, in my opinion, when he was asked to do it. And so loved seeing that. And then hand fighting, 8.4. Agreed with what you had to say there, Kodey. And then I gave him an 8 for versatility. Did he not play tackle originally the last couple years, Kodey? I could be mistaken there, but I thought he was listed at tackle at one point, just like his brother Caden.
I think when he started his sophomore year is when he had the most tackle going on. And then as the years went on, he just moved more and more inside the line.
Okay. Yeah, because I could have swore we watched his tackle film and it was not the greatest. And so I definitely remember that. Plus, he's 6'4". He's a little bit shorter. So he's not like Nevin Godden or Hayden Treader, who are taller, who I think can go play tackle. If he plays tackle, he'll probably be right tackle because he's a great run blocker. But as a pass protector at tackle, I feel a lot better about putting him inside, wedged between two other guys, because I feel like he holds up just a lot better there. So it's kind of just where I'm at there. And then, like, the hand fighting wise, I just don't know if that hand fighting is going to be good enough for him to play tackle anyways. So just putting him inside, I think, will be just fine, and he'll be very impactful there and be, I guess, the best player he can be playing interior, whether it's center or guard. But yeah, I don't have too much more to add on here. Kodey, do we want to go ahead and talk outlook here? I know he has a couple offers. I think his only D1 offer is South Dakota, which is where his brother's at right now, Caden Weatherby, who originally went to Texas Tech, then transferred to South Dakota. But then the rest, it looks like here, are all D2s, like Black Hills State, South Dakota Mines, Adams State, Mines, CSUP, Missouri State, right? So what do you think about that, Kodey, and what's his outlook moving forward in your eyes?
I thought Missouri State was D1.
Don't think they are. They might be FCS, though. Maybe that's...
I think they're FC... Hold up, let me check.
I don't think so, though.
Yeah, they're
FCS.
FCS.
They are. Okay, so Missouri State, which, the offer was a while ago. I will say that. Same with the South Dakota offer as well. So I don't know how well those are standing now, because it is, like I said, December 31st. Most high school guys have committed. So we have seen offers being taken away originally as some spots fill up. But Kodey, what do you think about his outlook here still?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, that these offers were back in May. Now, this season he did go to games at Texas Tech, Nevada, Nebraska, CU, and Utah. But it's just troubling to not see those offers and see the D2 tour go through, because I think that he is a next level guy. And yeah, I think that part of it may just be I don't even know. I don't even know. And maybe there's a world where, it might be really expensive. I'm not sure if this is the correct move to do, but maybe even if the USD offer still isn't there, a PWO is still there, and he at least has family there, and stuff like that is a potential angle that I could maybe project. But I mean, if you can get money, we always recommend it. And as to fools swimming in student debt because they couldn't be college athletes, it makes a pretty substantial difference if you can get some, any, or all of it covered. So definitely just play your hand well. Obviously, smart kid with those offers to South Dakota and Colorado Mines. Good programs as well. If he does go to a D2, I would assume it would be, more like a Colorado Mines or like a South Dakota. I don't really see him going to Adams State. And yeah, I do hope that he gets those looks and he still has a chance to accept an offer on the next level for the D1 level, because he's my highest graded guy and he's our highest graded guy, averaged out, of course, at an 87.9. There's just not a lot of things that, Kale is a guy who could be, definitely be a day one starter at the D2 level, and arguably at the FCS level, he's somebody who could definitely see quality or important snaps as a true freshman. And I think that he definitely has that upside. He's got the size, he's got the strength, he has the intangibles, honestly. And I just think that, I don't know, it's a little perplexing as to why he's overlooked, especially, because according to 24/7 even, he is rated as a 3-star as well. So I think that that's something else to consider. And his brother having played on that next level. I'm just I'm definitely just a little confused as to what's going on here. But hopefully we get to see him sign with a D1 team that had a need on the interior in February. Crossing my fingers here.
Yeah. I feel like maybe he grew more into his frame this last season / off season more than anything, right, Kodey? Because I feel like he was a little undersized.
Yeah, he was a little bit on the smaller side, I want to say, his sophomore and junior.
Yeah, so this was the first full year he played at this frame, so I kind of get it, but it is a little late here. Regardless, I think he's a D1 guy, but he's maybe just a little bit of a late bloomer, which is totally fine. There's plenty of late bloomers who go on and start at a D2 or go JUCO or whatever, and then, transfer up. It happens a lot, but I would agree that maybe South Dakota would be the best because his brother's there, right? And I think he can compete and get a spot up there and, or hopefully earn a scholarship. And if not there, then maybe he goes to one of these D2s, maybe a Colorado School of Mines or not that, or somewhere where he could just compete and show off, his skill set, and then in a couple years, move up as well, because I just really think he's a D1 guy here as an interior offensive lineman, and it just took him some time to develop, find his position, find his frame and whatnot, playing frame, and unfortunately he has ran out of time. It seems like just a little bit here, and he's just gonna have to make a decision here soon and go from there. Which is totally fine. There's plenty of different paths to getting to where you want to get, but I think there's no doubt that the skill set and that the talent is there, and I think he'll be fine regardless. So yeah, but don't have too much more to add on here. Kodey, you mind if I just go ahead and wrap this thing up?
I do not. Shout out all these guys for making the list, though.
Yeah. No, a good group of guys here. Pretty much almost all D1 here, I think. But let's go ahead and start at number 5. The number 5 class of 24 interior offensive lineman is Douglas County's Charlie Reed. The number 4 guy is Pine Creek's Carson Kaplan. The number 3 guy is Cherry Creek's Evan Godden. The number 2 guy is also Cherry Creek's Hayden Treater. And then the number 1 guy here is Eagle Crest's Kale Weatherby. And yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing where all these guys play on the next level. That basically wraps up offensive lineman week here. Next week we'll get back to the last 3 positions here: interior defensive lineman, and then I believe it goes running back, and then quarterback, running back, interior defensive lineman, and then quarterback. Yeah, that's how it'll go. And so to be updated on all that stuff and, to keep up to date with that, go ahead and follow us, show us some love on our social medias at Playmakers Corner. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /X, and TikTok. And then, subscribe to us on YouTube and anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And while you're there, go ahead and leave a comment or a review. We really appreciate that. Excuse me. Oh my God. And yeah, we'll continue to put out more of this content, but thank you so much for rocking with us. I've been one of your co-hosts, Simon Voyanos, aka Coach V.
And I am him, Kodey Stauffer.